Kodiak nosed the stuffed toy gently across the clinic floor, careful not to crush it beneath his massive paw. It was a plush bear, slightly worn, gifted by a child whose letter now hung proudly on the clinic's wall. "Dear Kodiak, I hope you feel better. You are brave. I love you." Tessa had caught it on video. His cautious movements, his soft grunt when the bear rolled too far, the moment he gently tucked it beside his food bowl. A moment of gentleness from a creature once labeled dangerous. She posted the clip online, thinking nothing of it. Within 12 hours it had been viewed over 3 million times. The gentle bear who was tortured. It trended on every major platform. News anchors debated his fate. Celebrities tweeted their support. Packages arrived daily: blankets, toys, food, hand-drawn cards. Strangers called to offer donations. A GoFundMe raised over $80,000 in days. But the attention was a double-edged sword. The same video that touched hearts ignited fear. Comment threads turned to battlegrounds. Some people saw a miracle of compassion. Others saw a threat that needed to be put down before it's too late. Protesters began gathering outside the clinic. Signs read, "Keep humans safe. Euthanize now. Don't gamble with lives. A bear is a bear. It will kill." Alex stood at the window and watched the crowd grow. Reporters shouted questions. Someone held up a sign showing a bear mauling footage, completely unrelated but effective. Fear spread faster than truth. Inside, Kodiak curled up on a reinforced mat, blanket over his back. His body was still healing, but his spirit, Alex could see it, was returning. So was his will. "He doesn't even react to the noise," Tessa said, arms folded. "He hears them scream, and he doesn't growl. He just rests." Alex nodded. "Because he's not the animal they think he is." But convincing the world was another matter. He filed emergency motions with the local court to block any euthanasia orders. Launched a public campaign. Give Kodiak a sanctuary, not a sentence. Press kits, public statements, personal letters. He stood on courthouse steps and gave interviews. He told Kodiak's story, the auction, the microchip, the healing. "He's not just recovering," Alex said to the cameras. "He's choosing to recover. We owe him the chance to live." Support surged. But so did resistance. Back at the precinct, things were turning. Alex was called into the captain's office. He expected a debrief. Instead, he was handed a transfer recommendation. "You're too emotionally involved," the captain said flatly. "This campaign makes us look weak." Alex blinked. "Weak? For saving a life?" "We're officers, not activists." "Then maybe you forgot what officers are supposed to do." A tense silence. "You're done here, Monroe. Take a leave." Alex stood without a word, turned, and left. Outside, his phone buzzed. Another headline alert. "Cop defies order to save illegal bear, mobilizes nation." He scrolled past the hate, past the death threats, until he found a photo someone posted. Kodiak laying beside the toy bear, good eye open, watching the door, waiting. But Alex wasn't done. He dug deeper. If they wanted to kill Kodiak, they'd have to silence truth first. He contacted a friend in forensics, requested access to archived records from the Midwest Imperial Circus case. And that's when things cracked wide open. The microchip linked Kodiak not just to the defunct circus, but to a secondary registry, one maintained by a private animal supplier named Wilkins, who'd been under federal investigation for illegal wildlife trafficking. Alex followed the trail. Wire transfers, handwritten ledgers, inventory photos. And suddenly, there it was. A sale dated back 7 years. One juvenile male bear, identified by partial chip ID, was sold to an independent animal handler, working under contract with the Montana State Police. The handler's name? Officer Dale Kearns, a name Alex knew too well. Kearns had retired 2 years ago. Before that, he'd worked deep cover with narcotics, known for his brutality, never charged, but always protected. The deeper Alex dug, the more disturbing the puzzle became. Kearns had been part of the raid on the circus, but instead of turning Kodiak in as evidence, he'd sold him off under the table. For profit. The bear had been discarded once, then trafficked again. Not by criminals in shadows, but by the very people sworn to protect. Alex printed every page, compiled a file, took it to Tessa that night, laying it out across her clinic's counter. He wasn't just abused, he said. He was betrayed. By our system. By my system. Tessa read in silence, jaw clenched. This changes everything, she whispered. Alex nodded. It has to. They prepared to go public, but before they could, a brick crashed through the clinic's front window. Shouts outside. Sirens. Kodiak roared for the first time, not in anger, but raw panic. He tried to rise, fell hard, then curled into a trembling ball. People were now crossing a line. Tessa turned to Alex. You said you'd fight for him, so fight. Alex picked up the folder, his voice low but certain. I'm going to bring down the ones who hurt him, and I'm going to save his life doing it. The red light blinked on. Live. Across the nation, early morning viewers tuned in for their usual broadcast. Weather, traffic, coffee banter. Instead, they got Alex Monroe. He stood on set, his badge shining, his voice calm but unshakable. I didn't come here for a soundbite, he began. I came to expose a betrayal. Behind him, images flashed. Kodiak at the auction. Kodiak in the clinic. Kodiak collapsed, stitched, barely alive. Then came the documents. Financial trails, hidden transactions, names. He named Officer Dale Kearns, named the handlers, named the departments that looked away. This bear was seized, tortured, discarded, and trafficked by those who were supposed to protect him. We don't get to look away anymore. The studio was silent. Even the host stood frozen. Alex's voice dropped, eyes locked to the camera. If Kodiak dies, the justice system loses its soul. Then he stepped back, pulled the mic from his collar and set it gently on the desk. No theatrics, no cue for applause, just raw, irreversible truth. By the time he left the studio, the internet was on fire. Save Kodiak had exploded. Within hours, the hashtag reached 20 million tweets. Protests erupted from coast to coast. Schools held moment of silence vigils. Children held up drawings of Kodiak with hearts around his name. War veterans sent letters. Celebrities posted videos of themselves holding signs. Mercy is justice. Kodiak deserves to live. The White House released a statement calling for a full investigation into law enforcement wildlife practices. Donations surged, but more importantly, so did hope. At the clinic, Tessa barely recognized the crowd outside. Supporters stood with candles handing out food to volunteers. Someone had printed T-shirts with Kodiak's face and the words, "He didn't give up. Neither will we." Inside, Kodiak lay still. Machines beeped softly. Then, he stirred. A twitch, then a low, gravelly grunt. Tessa rushed to his side. "Kodiak, you with me?" He blinked slowly, nostrils flaring. Alex arrived minutes later, breathless. He didn't say a word at first, just walked to Kodiak's side and dropped to his knees. "You should see them out there," he whispered. "They're not afraid anymore." Kodiak shifted his paw, heavy, uncertain, and rested it on Alex's chest. The room went silent. Tessa blinked back tears. He knows. That afternoon, the emergency court hearing was held. It was standing room only. Press, public, advocates, legal watchdogs. The judge, an older woman with sharp eyes and a reputation for zero tolerance, took the bench. She reviewed every document, watched the videos. heard testimony from vets, from wildlife experts, from Alex himself. When the room fell silent, she leaned forward. I've presided over many cases, but none that asked a more difficult question. When an animal has been broken by humans, does he deserve human mercy? She paused. Kodiak is not a threat. He is a survivor. This court rules in favor of relocation to the Redwood Valley Wildlife Sanctuary under federal protection. Applause erupted. Some sobbed, others chanted his name. Alex sat frozen, hand over his mouth. Tessa squeezed his shoulder. You did it. No, Alex whispered. He did. Weeks passed. A transport crate gently opened beneath a canopy of redwood trees. The air was fresh, wild. For the first time in years, Kodiak took a step onto soft grass, blinking at the sunlight. He hesitated, then moved forward, limping but unafraid. Sanctuary workers watched in silence as he reached the pond. Cool, clear, untouched. Kodiak waded in. Then he lowered himself, belly deep, and swam. The footage aired everywhere. A montage followed. Kodiak rolling in mud. Kodiak standing, slowly regaining strength. Kodiak batting at a ball hung from a tree, learning to play. In each clip, Alex could be seen nearby, always in the same spot near the fence, book in hand, journal open. He never missed a visit, and every time Kodiak saw him, he came closer. 6 months later. Alex stood in a school auditorium, a sea of second graders sitting crisscrossed at his feet. In his hands, a children's book. The cover read, Kodiak the Brave. He opened the first page. Once upon a time, he read aloud, there was a bear who had every reason to stop believing in people. The kids leaned in. No phones, no distractions. Just one man, one bear's story, and dozens of little hearts listening. But then one person believed in him. He turned the page, and that changed everything. Final scene. Back at the sanctuary, Kodiak lay beneath a tree, bigger, stronger, still scarred, but whole. He blinked as the sun dipped low. A familiar voice echoed from beyond the fence. See you next week, big guy. Kodiak grunted softly, not as a warning, but as a promise.